Hello everyone, welcome to this brutally honest review of Dawn of War 3. Now I am not actually late to this bus, I've already given my review to Kitsuga.com in written form 2 weeks ago. I was honestly hoping, against hope, that I would be able to, 3 weeks after the game launch, give a review that would be more positive. I am disappointed. I'm disappointed in Relic. I'm disappointed in the Dawn of War 3 fan base for other reasons, and I am disappointed in the game. On the surface, by the way, guys, Dawn of War 3 is not a bad RTS by any stretch of the imagination. But, you'll find out later, it's not a good Dawn of War 3 game. So, let's get into the review and see exactly what I'm talking about. Enjoy. Dawn of War 3, I'm going to preface this review with the following. Would be a good real-time strategy game if it were not a Dawn of War game. Being a Dawn of War game, much more is expected of it. And what is presented here is indeed a bad Dawn of War game. Similar to Mass Effect Andromeda, it's a good game if it didn't have the name on the license. So, let's begin in the options menu. You have several options for selection, however, this is a big however, there is no way to change your hotkeys. There's no way to even see your hotkeys. You can adjust the layout of your display, but you can't change or even see your hotkeys at all. There is no way to play this in windowed mode. When I was live streaming this, it was very difficult to interact with my chat unless I put my chat on my phone. But for people who prefer to play in windowed mode, you're going to be sadly disappointed. Also, the options for actual adjustment of graphics are terrible. Not that the graphics are anything great. Audio options wise, I'm sorry. There should distinctly be options in your audio options now for which piece of audio equipment I want you to play through. By the way, if you change your default playthrough while the game is open, you actually kill the audio altogether and the game stops playing audio. So there's your options menu. It sucks. And it's disappointing. I would have, even Dawn of War 2 has a windowed mode. Before we get into talking about the campaign and multiplayer, let's talk about elites. These are basically how you form your army and create your doctrines. One problem. If I want to switch over and play orcs, or Eldar, I don't have any doctrines to pick from because I haven't trained these factions up. I am left in a position where it becomes disadvantageous to play a different faction. So once you pick your faction at the start of the game, you pretty much stick with them. Not that there's enough to this game to warrant playing it for very long. As you can see, you unlock your doctrines here using skulls. I haven't actually taken the time to unlock them because, as I said, there's not enough to warrant me staying with the game for long enough to actually continue exploration beyond checking out what the doctrines do and going, huh, that's nifty. But I've reset my skulls twice because of experimentation. But resetting your skulls costs skulls, so you end up losing skulls to do the reset. Your army heroes are basically dictated as, I hate to say this, and I'm trying not to use the term MOBA very hard, but it's kind of hard to. You have hero, you have elite selections that are useful for start game, for mid game, and for end game. Their costs should reflect where they are useful. Striking Scorpions, for instance, useful at the very beginning of game, but not so useful later in the match, assuming the match lasts that long. Wraith Knight, definitely a late game unit because you have to build up 9 hero points to unleash it, and 3 to 6 points is kind of your early mid to late mid section. There are not many heroes that cost 7 or 8, as we will see. It seems like there's just this gap where there's one hero that costs 7, none of them cost 8. And you're just kind of sort of stuck there. And the Space Marines have it the worst because you get 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. No 5s. It seems like they're very hesitant to issue 5s and 8s and 3s, and I don't understand why or for what balance purpose that serves. But those are your elites. You will be stuck with them and be training with them for a while. I kind of like this late game sudden assault, personally, where I drop 2 Imperial Knights and tell you to deal with it. But that's me. The campaign, for which we will play a very short time of, is incredibly, utterly... I don't know how else to describe this. It is the most disappointing Dawn of War campaign they could have put together. This campaign is more disappointing than Winter Assault. Because in Winter Assault you had to switch factions while you're playing through the game to continue the campaign. And Lord forbid you hit new campaign because your entire progress, you only get 1 save. 1 campaign save. And it doesn't even keep the save. It doesn't even keep the in-mission save once the mission is complete. It's gone. But you get 1 save. If you hit new campaign, or you know somebody else wants to play the campaign on your computer, they basically have to play your campaign. In addition to this, you only get awarded skulls for the campaign once. That's it. And I clicked on Eldar, and now I have to laugh. The campaign missions are incredibly poorly done. For instance, this orc mission, you are literally sitting there with 1 elite and 2 regular units. Orc boys and shooter boys. That's it. For an over 2.5-hour mission. By the time they start inserting the comedy elements of the orcs into the mission, you're bored out of your skull and you just want the mission to end. The Eldar missions are incredibly tedious. Also, your elites are pre-selected for you during the campaign, so you're not even allowed to use the elites you want to use. As you can see, it shows you which elites will be available on which missions. Yeah. Now, I'm going to talk about the graphics for a moment before we get into the meat of the game, the multiplayer. I don't mean to be rude. By the way, this is as far as I can zoom in. This is as far as I can zoom in the army editor. The other zoom is as far as you can zoom in on the map. I don't mean to be rude. But this looks cartoony. I would be hesitant to say that the graphics have not improved at all. By the way, this is near maximum settings. Anti-aliasing is set to medium. Physics is set to medium. Texture and image quality are maxed out. This is... What makes it even more cartoony is the damn heart. No offense to the Eldar, I know this is one who... But that just makes it... I can't take this... I can't take Wraithguard seriously. And the orcs are not much better. When you really truly look at it, you can even see the polygons on some of the units, particularly these orc units, where their muscles are, they're just badly textured. And you can see the polygon work on things that should be round that are not. And you didn't have this in Dawn of War 2. You actually did not have, the graphics in Dawn of War 2 were legitimately much better polished. I mean, I'm trying not to be terribly rude, but that orc arm doesn't even look like it's attached. And unlike Dawn of War 1 and 2, where orc units, you know, everybody in the unit looked slightly different, had a different feel, these are all exact carbon copies. I don't even think this freaking belt of ammunition is actually attached to him. I think it's just floating over his shoulder. Yeah, right there, you can see it. It's just... I'm trying not to be overly negative, but for a Dawn of War game, this is pathetically bad. The Space Marines look good. I mean, the Space Marines are the only faction in the game I can legitimately say don't look half bad. But the Orcs and the Eldar, which are 2/3 of the damn game, and since you're gonna have to play them to play the campaign, they look awful. But even the Space Marine models, when it comes to stuff like wiring and internal components, it starts to break down inside there and starts to look a little too cartoony. You're like right there on the cusp of what would be considered the uncanny valley for graphics, and it feels wrong. And I hope you can relate to what I'm saying. Graphically speaking, it just feels a little off. Very, very off. But multiplayer. The thing you will be playing for hours if you get this game, because it's the only thing worth playing. Are you ready for this? You get one mode. I was waiting because they promised a new mode by May 12th. It is now May 18th, the day after my birthday, and they still haven't given us the new mode. I have recorded this review twice in hopes of seeing something new come out, and it just hasn't. It's nice that you include all of these different chapters. I mean, that is, I cannot argue against that. What I can argue against is that in the first Dawn of War game we had 4 factions before you started unleashing more factions. We had Chaos Space Marines, we had Space Marines, we had Eldar, and we had Orcs. Then you gave us Imperial Guard, Necron, Sisters of Battle, Tau. Here we have less factions than the first game. We have a shorter, less comprehensive campaign than the first game. And the first game you only get to play as Space Marines in the campaign. And it pales the campaign, the part that people buy RTSs for. Because while you can play the multiplayer for days, you gotta admit that playing through the campaigns of the Dawn of War series is why you remember the Dawn of War series. It's not really all the matches you play with your friends. When you really truly sit down and think about it, what do you think about? You think about going in as the Blood Ravens and killing a demon. You think about playing the Eldar and having to work around their shortcomings because they played as a completely different style than the Space Marines. By the way, you can no longer play AI opponents 1v1. That's a patch. You can't play 1v1 against the AI. You have to play 2v2 or 3v3. I'm going to set up just a casual match just so you guys can see some of the gameplay elements, but they took that away. I don't know why. That seemed like the best way for people to get to learn the game, and you just ripped that out of their hands. You can only 1v1 other players, and on top of this, well, I'm just, at this point, I'm just going to let the game speak for itself a little bit. So, prepare for a loading screen, because it's going to search for a match with AI opponents. I would like to play against only the AI. You're no longer allowed to do that. Apparently. Custom solo. You can now play custom solo against one random AI opponent. Before, you could quick match and play against just the AI. Now, well, you see where this is going. By the way, the AI automatically gets access to all of the doctrines. And you can spawn in random or fixed locations, but you can't purposely choose the location. We're gonna be here a minute, because usually this takes a good few minutes to load, and I just want you guys to see. For the next thing, again, I'm trying not to use the term MOBA, but it feels really like a MOBA, or like it is not designed with deathmatch in hand. They must have improved the loading speed. That's good news. It doesn't respond to mouse clicks for that, by the way. You have to actually hit the button. And because I can't actually see my keys, I've just been working off of clicking. I hate to be mean, but that's the truth. I've just been working off clicking because I can't see my keys. I can't like look them up and start memorizing them. Much less the fact that every time that I click on a building, the same keys come up. So I'll click on this unit, Q, W. Where's my hotkey just to go, I want to make that now. I want to build that now. Why is that not a thing? It's just not. You literally have no selection hotkeys. You have selection down here, accessible via the mouse. So prepare the Doctrine Chapel and set this up. Now the next thing that I noticed is these resource points don't generate anything on their own. You have to build on them. So you have to capture the point and then build on it. It does not generate anything on its own. Let's do attack move. Oh yeah, by the way, because you can't change your hotkeys, there's a bit of an issue. The game has it where the arrow keys are moving around the map, which is why I'm not using my hotkeys, because I don't have 3 hands. I don't understand why I don't have 3 hands. That just doesn't make any sense. But here I am, having to use 2 hands for a 3-section control scheme. And the reason I'm not using the map is the map doesn't always respond. So let's get them working. I can't build last cannons yet. And he's already got vehicles, which I can't build. And I have no method to build anti-vehicle. But the orc can build vehicles out the gate. Like, literally can just build them. And you have no way of really countering them as Space Marines. I mean, that's just the truth. The orc can... But because of the shield generators, they really can't take advantage of that. Because they have to build up, like you do, to take out the shield generators. And so now I'm going to just bum rush into them with my hero because I can. There's not a lot they can do about it. Once you build up the hero points, which basically means that this center location is the hold or lose, basically. If you don't have that, if you don't have the ability to get more hero points, you will lose the game. And now I'm just moving in with as many troops as I can get my hands on while building up my resources. And this is why the game plays incredibly slowly, is you end up with these type of prolonged engagements where nobody wants to actually push or fight because you can't. I can't push his base, so my choice is to hold here and keep fighting him back until I can push his base. Which, unlike the original Dawn of Wars, where you had a back and forth and you had an active effort to hold certain areas, this has turned into more of a waiting game. I mean, yeah, we're fighting, but we're not fighting like we would be in Dawn of War 1 or 2, where it would be constantly changing locations, changing where we're fighting over. Instead, it's much more, I guess the term I'm looking for here is static. Also, rather than the huge burst damage that you would expect from a last cannon now, they do damage over time. And if I'm right, there's a war boss here, and we're just going to unload on him. And I'm just letting Gabriel go. Like, I'm not even controlling him, he's just doing his job. And he's gonna lose his hero in about 6 seconds. Like, the las cannons just rank up the damage so quickly. He's just gonna blow. Vehicle hunting and hero murder is what they're good at. And it just... it makes the heroes feel weak. And explains why I don't have that yet, is because the freaking servitor died. You also have to upgrade the requisition individually, and if the areas... unlike in the previous game where once you upgraded it, it kind of escalated the whole fight. In this one, it just doesn't. And I'm going to pull Gabriel back now. He's done his job. That's nice. And this is it. You guys have basically seen the whole game now. The only thing you haven't seen is the assault on the base, which will be coming up very shortly. But this is what you can expect. Yes, there's a little back and forth, but you're basically going to fight over this center point and nowhere else, really. I'm now healing Mr. Gabriel Angelos. I don't really know what else to say about it. The game just isn't terribly interesting. Will you finish that damn construction, please? What is this? Orbital bombardment? See, I'm trying to figure out how to control this and I can't. Like, there's no instructions for it. You're just assumed to know how to control it. I mean, look at this. He is getting shot by a las cannon and literally just shrugging it off. He's just ignoring the anti-vehicle unit, and they can do that, and that's not... I'm not sure why you would do that. I have no idea who's decided that was good game balance. And the Marine vehicles are the same way. They just ignore the anti-vehicle units unless it's vehicle-based. Yeah, that counts as having heavy armor. Which basically means my tactical squad is doing next to nothing. And look at this shitty fucking repair rate. You're better off buying a new dreadnought than waiting for that to fix. And yeah, this battle's going nowhere until you get a hero, and I can't seem to get that, so we're done. But that's how the battles work now. I mean, the AI just spams units, the regular players just spam units. There's no strategy to spamming the units other than get vehicles, because the vehicles win. It doesn't matter how many infantry you throw at them. 9 times out of 10, vehicles are the win. And now we get to see one of the heroes. It cost me 9 hero points. It took me this long to accumulate 9 hero points. We've been playing for over 30 minutes. There is no quick match with this. And at this point, it's just a steamroll. Oh, by the way, vehicles can remove your standing at points now. And of course, the orcs just turned that into a giant disco. As we slowly force our way in. A distraction is not a waste to you. Yeah, the turrets, even powered off, are still ridiculously potent. Yeah, even though I've destroyed the generator, that turret is still incredibly powerful enough to repel most of my forces. The hero is the exception. And the objective actually isn't even to get at his base. The objective is to get at the power core. And he's going to be an effective distraction. We're going to activate his iron shield. And us Devastator Marines are doing all the damage to the power core now. That one squad of Devastators, you're just going to tear it apart. I literally... Okay, they actually went after them. That power core should be dead. There it goes. And this is what you're going to be doing. You assault the power core, you don't assault their base. Their base is not your objective. You have a limited space in which you can build. And this is the only multiplayer mode. There's no capture the flag, there's no king of the hill, there's no... There's no just straight up team deathmatch or regular 1v1 deathmatch. This is what you're going to be doing. Is it interesting and fun for like the first maybe 20 minutes? But after that point, I'm also going to point out I earned 0 skulls for taking on AI opponents. You only earn skulls for completing the campaign the first time. If you play back through the campaign, you don't get more skulls. And you only earn skulls for doing multiplayer matches against other opponents. Which is why unlocking your doctrines is so difficult and such a long, hard, arduous grind that I haven't even bothered. Do these change how units work? Yes, they change how individual units work. The Dreadnought Stun Barrier creates a temporary barrier which absorbs. Awesome. But it means that you're creating a doctrine that focuses on certain units. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the way infantry work in this game, not worth it. As you saw, my vehicles and the orc vehicles were what mattered and carried the day. And that makes me sad, because in the previous game, if you bum rush me with vehicles, in either of the two previous games actually, I would just spam las cannons or spam rockets and look at you and go, bring it on, and it was an effective counter to prevent vehicle spam from winning the day every time. If you spammed infantry, well, you spam anti-infantry units and you spam melee units. Here, there's no tit for tat. It's vehicles or go home. It's heroes or go home. And because of the way the game is constructed, using early game heroes, puts you at a distinct disadvantage because you're going to be playing long games. So using stuff like the kill team, it's just, or Joan and Orion for the Space Marines, or even the Chaplain Diomedes. These 3 heroes are super ineffective. They are super ineffective in the campaign, and they are super ineffective in the multiplayer. You want Terminators, you want Venerable Dreadnoughts, and you want the Imperial Knights. For the Orcs, I hate to say this, but these Storm Boys are damn near useless. Straight up. The Weird Boy Zapnoggin in the campaign was utterly worthless to me. I didn't even play him. The Commando, he looks cool, but I wouldn't use him. Also, you can tell that this is MOBA design because look at the names. Nuker Crowd Control, Tank Support, Tank Crowd Control, Assassin Crowd Control, Tank. And for the Eldars, you guys, I've played a couple matches with these. The Striking Scorpions are pathetic. They're really great at the start of the game when you can just launch them and send them out, but as soon as they add, I don't know, by the time somebody gets a vehicle, you just keep seeing them die over and over again, and they spend so much time in recharge and in cooldown than they do actually on the battlefield. Same thing for the Ranger. During the campaign, the Ranger I just threw out the window, like didn't even use him. It's Warp Spiders, it's Wraith Lords, it's Wraith Knights, or go home. And that's a sad state. Where the elites are basically bring the biggest, baddest elites you can muster. And use them, and that's what I do. I literally just bring the biggest, baddest units I can muster. Dawn of War 3, everyone. It is a disappointment to the max. If this were a regular strategy game, a run-of-the-mill strategy game without the title of Dawn of War, it would be nice. But since they tried to merge Dawn of War 2 and Dawn of War 1 gameplay, it doesn't work. You know, there's no last stand mode. There's no... The heroes are way misbalanced. Vehicle infantry balance is horrible. The graphics are... Dawn of War 2 actually looks better. I went back and played it for a little bit. Dawn of War 2 actually looks better legitimately for its time than this does for our time right now. Is this worth $60? No. with the two very limited game modes of campaign or multiplayer MOBA style deathmatch. And I said I wasn't going to use the term MOBA. It is. You attack shield generators to be able to break turrets and then go after a power core rather than the enemy base. Which, by the way, each player doesn't get their own power core. In 2v2 and 3v3, there's still only one power core per team. Which is what truly broke it for me, was I looked at that and said, that is unacceptable. Because it means that there's no need to eliminate the other players, you just need to break through the power core and the game's over. There's no other multiplayer modes. So without those, with a campaign whose story is run-of-the-mill 40K, it's presented really nice, but there's nothing truly compelling or interesting about it. There's no of the intrigue that you experienced in Dawn of War 1 or Dawn of War 2 about it. It's just hammer on the head of the nail. We're all after a holy artifact, and the holy artifact turns out to be a bad thing. Really? That's all you got? That's not a twist. That's not even like... That's not even good. And you end up with the Orcs, Eldar, and I'm going to spoil this a little bit. You end up with the Orcs, Eldar, and Space Marines fighting together. And I was just like, what? This doesn't even make sense. And the ending is as ambiguous as possible, with no definitive... just straight up no definitive closure. With only 3 factions coming from games that had 8 and 6 distinct different playstyle factions previously, I can't give this a recommendation. Not at $60. If this were a 30 or even a 25 United States dollar game, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But a full $60 release? Wait till it goes on sale. I wait till it goes on sale. And as a Dawn of War game, at present, this is pathetic. I waited to do this review because of hopes that the updates that were going to be released would make it less pathetic. And they did not. And I'm sorry to say that. I really, truly am. I was hoping against hope. I was really, really banking that this would turn out to be good. And it did. So that is my review. This will be posted on Remlaze's channel first. My own channel will be posted 3 days later. But you can tell I wanted to like this game. I tried. At present on Steam, I've put over 40 hours into this game in hopes of finding something nice about it. And it's just not there. It's legitimately just not there. Dawn of War 3, ladies and gentlemen. For sale for $60 on Steam, with hopes of paid DLC in the future rather than free DLC, and with promises of additional game modes and additional features that have yet to be delivered, as all we have seen are repeated hot fixes. Go ahead, check it out, and see what you think yourself if you really want to. The reviews on Steam at this point are trending almost all negative. They're almost below 50%. And if this were any other RTS, it would be good. But as a Dawn of War game, this is terrible. I will see all of you guys later for Aeronautica, and hopefully a good Warhammer 40K game this year. Keep your fingers crossed. I know I still am. Let's see what we can get.